Saddle up. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Good Lawgic and to the Kenosha County Eye, for those of you who are watching over there. And I thank you for joining us this evening. We have a very special treat for you. Back in house, my old friend Nathan Debruin, aka PhotoChad. So I guess we'll start by saying welcome, PhotoChad. How are you?
Pretty good. Been a long day, let me tell you that.
I bet it has, and we're certainly going to get into that. My co-host today is Kevin from Kenosha County Eye, and we're actually streaming at both streams right now. You can check in. I urge my viewers to check out Kenosha County Eye. And Kevin, why don't you introduce yourself, since it's the first time on my channel, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and what you do?
Well, thanks for coming out tonight, Joe. It's a pleasure to be chatting with you. So my name is Kevin Mathewson. I live in Kenosha, Wisconsin, only a few miles away from the PhotoChad. So I get to hang out with this guy in person all the time. I'm happy to call him a friend. You know, we started this as strangers, but now I think we're friends. I am a criminal defense investigator. So I work for a handful of criminal defense attorneys here in Kenosha. So I stay connected to the court system professionally, and my part-time job is I'm the editor of KenoshaCountyEye.com. And my main focus is just to put a spotlight on corruption and just things that don't seem right with the government. And I've been doing that for quite a while. And you may have remembered Fatlock was talking about me to Nathan because he did an interview with me. So that was the first time we met. And it seems like he wasn't very interested in the Rittenhouse case. He was more interested in trying to protect the integrity of his his office, which is tough to do. So that's what that was all about. So when you saw Krause asking Nate over and over about this gossip blogger, I'm happy to say that is me.
The right-wing gossip blogger.
The right-wing gossip blogger.
Which obviously implying conspiracy theorist, crazy right-wing gossip blogger, Kevin Mathewson. So it's a privilege to have you on here. We've spoken in the past on other channels, but this is the first time you've actually been here on my channel. So Nathan, had a busy day today.
I did, unfortunately.
So just to give a little background on you, so you were in court today regarding Joshua Ziminski, right?
Yes, today was jury selection. Well, it's supposed to be jury selection.
So I want to give my audience here, those who are not familiar with the, some of the less reported elements to the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, a little introduction into who Joshua Ziminski is, so this way they can appreciate the proceedings that you were called, and you were called as a witness in the Joshua Ziminski trial, correct?
Yes, I was.
And this stems from the same night that of the Kyle Rittenhouse shootings, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So those of you who may not have been following the Rittenhouse trial on a day-to-day basis over on Nick Ricada or anywhere else, well, first of all, shame on you. But second of all, you may not be familiar with the name Joshua Ziminski. So Joshua Ziminski, in the first shooting of Joseph Rosenbaum, that Kyle was defending himself from the little manlet who was screaming "F you" while charging at him. So right before he started charging at him, in the seconds before that, an individual by the name of Joshua Ziminski was walking with his wife. At least this is what video indicates. I'm not sure, wife or girlfriend. You guys?
Wife.
It is wife. Okay.
Yep.
So he's walking with his wife, and he fired a gun in the air, out of the blue, not aiming at anyone. Obviously, just fired a gun in the air, and it was right after there was sort of this eye contact between. It was when Joe Rosenbaum was charging at him, and that firing in the air seems to be what led Kyle to sort of stop from running away from Rosenbaum and actually turn to face him, one would think out of concern, I'm not sure if this came out clearly on in his actual testimony, but that it was out of concern that he's going to get shot in the back. He doesn't know, he hears a gunshot behind him, and that gunshot was fired by Joshua Ziminski. Now Joshua Ziminski was also, according to video, it seems like he was involved in an attempt by the BLM, I'm going to call them rioters, because certainly in this instance they were definitely they were rioting, an attempt that was made earlier during the evening by certain BLM rioters to cause a gas station to explode by burning a fire dump, by taking a dumpster that was on fire and trying to roll it into this gas station. So he was involved in that. That dumpster fire had been stopped by other people, not by Kyle himself, but had been stopped by other people. And there's video footage of him standing right next to Joe Rosenbaum when Rosenbaum was famously screaming, "Shoot me, N-word." So that's Joshua Ziminski. That's the primary role that we see from Ziminski from video evidence that night, as far as what Nate saw that night or his interaction with him. So we're going to discuss really a little bit about his role here and why he's being brought in the Ziminski trial, and what his familiarity with it. And also we're going to discuss exactly what happened today, because there was a shocking development with respect to Joshua Ziminski interacting directly with you, Nate. Is that correct? I just want to make sure that I got everything right here.
Yep.
Nate? Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, I just want to go through the history of the charging of Ziminski, because it's very nefarious. So I will tell you that the Kenosha Police Department finally ID'd this guy who shot the gun in the air. We all saw the video. It's hard to deny that was him, right? So Kenosha Police did a very thorough investigation, and these are the criminal referrals that they sent to the DA's office. Number 1, second-degree reckless endangerment safety, which is a 20-year felony. Okay, very serious crime. 2, disorderly conduct. I mean, that's kind of the catch-all. You can write that for anybody. 3, obstructing an officer. And 4, bail jumping, because he was already out on bond for punching his wife 2 times in the face while driving with his kids in the back of the car. So this was originally opened as an arson investigation. So Kenosha police suspected him of arson at the time they opened this criminal investigation, but they had not yet had enough evidence, so they only referred these 4 crimes. So out of these 4 crimes, one being a felony up to 20 years in prison, he was charged on October 9th, 2020 with 1 count of disorderly conduct, and that's it, right? So, of course, the journalists, me, everybody else, were like, you got to be kidding me. When you look up rioter in the dictionary, you see Josh Ziminski's face. I mean, this guy has on his forehead an upside-down crucifix, right, which is like satanic. And on the back of his head, like where I got bald, where I got no hair, a big, bold letters, the word sin, S-I-N. I didn't know. Did you see that, Nate, today?
I did.
I mean, this is a bad dude with demonic and just really nasty tattoos. And so he was charged with disorderly conduct, right? The DA's office got all these complaints. Why are you charging this looter with just 1 DC? So then on December 8th, so 2 months later, they really got tough on Ziminski. They added 2 charges, curfew and obstructing an officer. So these are these are misdemeanors, of course. One is a maximum of 9 months, and the other one is a forfeiture, not even a crime. So people got pissed. People called his office. Finally, on January 26th of 2021, they dropped the curfew ticket, which was weird because they're still pursuing it for Kyle. They added arson, which is a felony, 3 years, 6 month max, and they kept the disorderly conduct and the obstruction. So there's a lot of shenanigans going on here, where Binger during the Rittenhouse trial kept saying, "Oh, I'm prosecuting Ziminski to the fullest." You know, it was a big nefarious thing that led up to this. So
what were those arson charges again?
So the arson charges were filed on January 26th of last year, 2021.
Okay. So
and he got
when was the reckless endangerment charge added?
It was never added, so they declined prosecution. Nole, what do they call it in Latin? Nole prosecute, whatever. In Latin,
Okay.
refused to prosecute. So, and that's not usually the case. I mean, that's very rare. I think in any jurisdiction, when the police say, "Hey, look, we have probable cause that this crime took place," usually the DAs mimic that, unless there's just some crazy reason. But we're talking about a guy who shot a gun in the air during a riot. We're not talking about 4th of July. We're not talking about New Year's Eve. I mean, this is something that could have led to more chaos. Well, it did, as we saw. So there was a lot of nefarious things. His wife actually has been in prison since last year because she was already on probation for retail theft. So it's funny because she's been in prison longer than him. So she pled out on these crimes because she was charged as party to a crime. She was helping him. She was videotaping the whole thing. So she's in prison. Now he's in jail. So those poor kids that were in court today, he brought his 3 kids there as for the judge to see them. And now both of their parents are in jail. So there's that.
So, but I'm just a little confused. So I want to make sure factually I'm understanding
Sure.
everything. I thought you said that one of the charges he was facing was reckless endangerment.
No, I'm sorry. That was the criminal referral from the police department.
Oh, there was criminal referral, but not a charge that he's facing.
Yeah. So the DA disagreed and said, no, we're not going to charge that.
Okay, fine.
So he's facing a maximum of 3.5 years in jail. I think it's 5 years, but in Wisconsin we have bifurcated sentences. So the maximum time he can get inside a prison is 3.5 years. And Schrader will give it to him. Schrader is very tough sentencer, and he's said many times, how much he hates these thugs that were running around lighting people on fire.
Well, not people, but things. But yeah,
Right. Yep.
Just to make sure we're on the same page.
They them. We'll just say they them.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so Nate,
Yes.
a lot of people probably remember you as one of the people who testified at the trial and at the Rittenhouse trial, and the phenomenal job you did there in holding up to cross-examination from Krause. My question for you is: so you were also served with a subpoena by the DA's office to appear in court today. To appear today, otherwise you wouldn't have been there, right?
Correct.
I mean, it wasn't a voluntary thing that you decided you're going to go there watching the jury selection, but they actually expected you to testify today.
Definitely, yes. I was subpoenaed. I didn't have any option, so
Okay.
and I did go there with my attorney.
All right. Were you prepped by the DA's office before going in there today?
I was not. They did not call me to have a meeting this time around.
Okay.
I wonder why.
Maybe they're afraid I end up in the Kenosha County Eye. So, okay. So they just told you come down there, and you brought your attorney down there today. So this is the first time you've heard. You haven't had any interaction with them. Have you ever spoken with Joshua Ziminski yourself? Have you ever had any conversation with him in any form at all?
Prior to this morning, no.
Yeah, prior to this morning, no. Okay.
No.
But you did actually reference him. Here's the interesting thing for those of you who missed PhotoChad's, who missed his testimony, is that during the course of the testimony, Rittenhouse's attorneys, Mark Richards, was basically asking Nate about the whole interview process that Nate had undergone during their investigation into the Rittenhouse killings, and he actually testified that there was some really interesting work that Binger did with respect to certain pictures, specifically of Joshua Ziminski. So if you could just remind the audience here your testimony regarding what happened between you and Binger when it came to Ziminski. Can you just remind those of us, those in the audience who may not recall it, exactly what happened during that exchange between you and Binger?
What do you mean specifically?
So when you came into Binger's office and they were showing you pictures, different pictures, and asking you to identify different people. If I recall correctly.
Yeah. Yes.
If I misstate anything, please correct me.
No. Yeah. When I got
we're friends. This is not me like trying to tell you at all. I want you to make sure. I want to get the facts out there as accurately as possible.
Joe, make sure you're saying what I'm saying.
I'm gonna be all correct. All of a sudden, Judge Schroeder jump in here saying
when I got called into the office. It was mainly about, I felt more about like trying to get me to identify someone that I didn't know in a photo. And the photo that I took, there wasn't of one specific person. There's multiple people in there, at least a dozen or so. And I didn't even know it had any importance until I was issued a subpoena for what I didn't even know until I forgot how I found out that originally it was for the Ziminski trial based like prior to the meeting incident, because I already had a subpoena at that point for both guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because this trial, the Ziminski trial was supposed to, I think, originally be like in September, wasn't it, Kevin?
Yeah, it was delayed.
But yeah, back to the original question was when Binger showed me that photo, my photo, but it was really zoomed in, and asked if I could identify this person, and I said no, I didn't know who that was, and that's when he told me it was Ziminski, and he tried to get me to add that to my statement.
As I recall, he actually said he took the photo away from you. He said that's Joshua Ziminski, and then
he said,
and then he slid it back in front of you and said, "Do you know who that is?"
Yes.
And you looked at him confused and saying, "Joshua Ziminski."
Correct.
And then asking you if you wanted to amend your statement, and you said, "No, I'm not changing my statement. I didn't know who he was until you just told me that. I'm not going to change anything."
Yeah, and that's really the only way I could identify him, even till today. When I got a good look at good look at him today.
Okay, so now you come into court today with your attorney, right?
Well, I met him upstairs in the courtroom. He had a prior case to attend to this morning.
Okay.
So he was already at the courthouse.
Okay. So and when you come into the courthouse, do you need to check in with the district attorney's office, or did your attorney have to do that?
Well, my attorney told me not to go to the district attorney's office, just go straight to the courtroom.
Okay, so I assume your attorney went over and to notify the district. Is the district attorney who's handling this case? Is that Binger himself or another person from the department?
It is Binger.
It is Binger.
Yep.
No. Okay. You were in the courthouse today as well, right? What, Kevin?
Yeah, and actually, as I was pulling up to the courthouse, is when I saw Ziminski getting out of his car with his mom and 3 kids, and I pulled out my phone. I said, I better record this because this guy's crazy. And then that's when the first incident happened.
So why don't you tell us exactly what happened? So what was your first exchange with? Where were you when you first saw Ziminski today, Nate?
I was just outside of my vehicle that I got dropped off in, and I just entering I just entered the property of the courthouse.
Okay,
like onto the grounds of the outside.
So you're on the exterior of the courthouse, but like on there, the overall, like the curtilage, or you're on the outside. Okay, on the steps, or you're on like a flat land, or
I'm on a flat land, just 5 feet from the steps, I would say.
Okay. And where was he in relation to you at this time?
He was he was at this time he was behind me at like a 5 o'clock degree angle, I guess.
So Ziminski was way ahead of Nate. Ziminski was halfway up the steps while Nate was, with his girlfriend. I love you. I'll see you in a few minutes. And so the thing that caught me was Ziminski already halfway to the thing. Once he turned and saw Nate, turned back, and I'm like, oh shit, this guy isn't stupid enough to talk to a witness. And that's when from my car, I could see, Nate has this big poster size print that he printed out, and they just start exchanging words. And I pulled up, put my window down, and I missed the very beginning. But what did he tell you, Nate?
So fine. And I think we all are able to picture. Yeah, that was that. How many people are around from where you're looking, Kevin? How many people are around?
So it was Ziminski, his 3 kids, which I believe 2 are his biological kids. I think 1 is a step kid. So his wife's
there's a incarcerated wife. Is it young kids or teenagers?
Yeah. So and here's the weird thing, Joe. So these kids were under 4. So his daughter had dyed purple hair, which there's no long-term effect, whatever. Maybe it's weird, but his kid, his like 2-year-old son, had these gauged earrings. Like I'm talking about these big ass holes that you see when they take them out, you could see through them. His little 2-year-old boy, and I'm thinking, that's nuts, man. But anyways, he's walking across the street. There's really not anybody around.
Is it right? So I'm wondering, is there any other like?
Yeah, there's really not anybody around, but I could tell this Ziminski dude stopped in his tracks and went back out of his way to go confront Nate. And
so, as far as you know, you're the only witness to this. Who is
watching? And actually, I saw his girlfriend in the car, and I saw her filming. And I tried to beep to get Nate's attention to say, "Hey, man, what's up?" And I think she thought I was beeping at her to get the hell out of the way because I'm coming through. But I saw her recording, and I was recording at the same time.
When you said girlfriend, you're talking about Nate's girlfriend.
Yeah, Nate's girlfriend.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So now he comes in. So he comes up to you face to face, Nate. At this point.
Yes. And he said, "Let me see that photo." And at first, I waved it because it I was so focused on what was going to happen inside, and I just it didn't even register to me, and I kind of just waved the photo, and it clicked to me, and then I just started immediately walking in. He was like, "I know you're not a lawyer," and.
So just slow down for a second here. Did you know who he was as soon as he started talking to you? Because he looks different now today in court than he.
Well, he had a face mask on, or it's not like a medical mask, but like I don't know what you call it, a face mask.
Okay, the mask that type of mask that
everyone
wears.
It's like a sleeve because I think it was his intention to cover all his neck tats. So it was kind of like a sock if you cut the toes off.
Right.
Just one giant sleeve.
Like his eyes, you couldn't even see his neck.
Right. It's because people use that instead of the typical face mask these days. They sort of have this thing that pulls up like a turtleneck.
Yep, exactly.
So now he comes up to you. How far away from you is he when he starts talking to you?
A few feet.
Like
maybe
6 feet?
I would probably say like 4 feet.
Okay. All right. So he's far enough away that did he ever get close enough that he could have actually physically punched you?
I don't know. He's a pretty tall dude.
He is tall,
this dude is 6'5", and he's got a like a Michael Jordan like wingspan.
Okay.
So I mean that plays a role.
I'm just trying to get a range here as to level of danger that you're in at this moment, and also and the overall tone and demeanor of everything that's happening here. So he says, "Let me see this picture." Let me see that picture. So he wanted to see the picture that you were carrying. How big is the picture you were carrying?
20 by 24 maybe.
Okay.
Or 30 by 24.
And this is a picture that you shot.
Correct. Yes.
And what was on that picture?
Supposedly what they allege to be Joshua Ziminski. It looks like kicking something into a fire that is on like a flatbed trailer. In fact, the flatbed trailer that Krause asked me how many people were in.
How many people were inside of it?
Right.
And Joe, I saw this picture many times. You would have to be 90% blind to not know instantly that was Joshua Ziminski. I mean, it's that asshole 100%. I mean, there is no ambiguity. It's him.
Not a hocus pocus.
No, it's Josh Ziminski, period. And Josh
Because
Josh,
it's Nate Debruin shooting it. By the way,
exactly.
there are links down below to his website where he actually sells his art, so you can actually see that. I would imagine you probably can offer it for sale, but that photo is probably something that people may want. It's a piece of Americana. But okay, so now he says, "Let me see that picture."
Yes.
That's what he said to you first. That's the first words out of his mouth. Let me see that picture.
Well, hey, let me see that picture.
Okay.
And
So what
then
do you do? Let's work
like
through the change now. What happens here now?
like I turned because, like I said, he was at kind of like at an angle. We weren't completely even, and so I looked and it clicked to who he was, and like the photo didn't even like it was like if the photo blew in the wind, I didn't even have two hands on it, and like it clicked inside my head, and I pulled the photo back down, and I kept walking, and that's when he says, "I know you're not an attorney," and I said, "Oh, I didn't say nothing," and I like kept telling myself just keep walking, and he goes, "Let me," like in a more stern voice. I only have one tone, but like in a more stern voice, "Let me see that photo," and like I just kind of picked up my speed and I opened up the courtroom door and I like looked to make sure because he was like the last time I looked, he was still following me up the stairs.
Right.
And I didn't. So I looked once I grabbed the courtroom door through the window, and then I told the deputy as soon as I got inside that the person I'm here to that I was subpoenaed against is actually right behind me and just tried to get me to show him this photo that is against him allegedly. I said, I don't know if he is gonna come like after me. And
So what did they do?
they told me to notify my attorney right away. I notified my attorney, who notified Binger, which then notified Ziminski's attorney, and then they went in front of the Judge Schroeder.
So let's slow. I just want to slow down here, and before we get to that,
Okay.
because I sort of want to have the whole evolution of the whole sequence of events as they're transpiring for you, and then walk it through. So the people that when you first come into the courthouse, there's security there, I assume, before you can come into the courthouse.
Yes, and like with a metal detector, and
Yeah,
they
three
want you.
three armed deputies, 3 sworn officers,
And
then
none of them offered to escort you anywhere when you said the defendant in a case that I'm testifying against is here, and he was asking me about this photo I'm carrying. None of them said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to escort you and make sure that you don't get like tackled from behind in the building."
Negative.
Well, I will say though that those 3 deputies, I mean, when they're assigned to their position, they can't leave their position. So, eventually, they got another deputy to come down, but
So
that's
what I'm really curious about. I don't care if it's those 3. What I'm saying is,
right,
did they ensure that your safety was maintained throughout the time in the building by making sure someone was escorting you around?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, that's really the primary thing. To me, it doesn't matter whether it's those people at the door or they have a 4th person come over. I'm just wanting to know that you're safe, the entire time you're here, and that, God forbid, something's not going to happen to you while you're in the courthouse from this lunatic.
Oh yeah.
So back to outside. I know that sometimes Nathan was freaked out. He was visibly nervous, and I don't blame him. I mean, if anything, if all you know about this guy is watching the Rittenhouse trial, this is a guy who carries a gun literally in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who's a huge dude who's got a rap sheet as big as a CVS receipt. He's a really mean, bad, violent career criminal. So this guy, what I heard was him saying "stop" like twice. I don't know if you remember that, but he was saying "stop, stop," and then I heard him say, "I'm not in that picture. That's not me. That's not me." So it's almost like Nathan could have understood that to mean, "Hey, look, dude, the wink and the nudge. That's not me in that picture, right?" And to be honest, after watching the Rittenhouse trial, Ziminski's attorney could bring that up and said, "Isn't it true isn't it true DA Binger tried to get you to ID my client when he didn't know who it was?"
I plan on getting there. The baffling stupidity of Joshua Ziminski and feeling like he doesn't want Nate to testify, when Nate's testimony at the Rittenhouse trial is probably one of the best defenses this guy has. I mean, what you said at the Rittenhouse trial and what you already testified about, which is why, I'm certainly didn't feel like I wanted you to, I wanted to go through that, because I figured that's something that if I'm his defense counsel, right, if I'm the attorney that he's hiring to defend him from these criminal charges, I would be calling you as a witness. And the reason I would be calling you, Nathan, as a witness is to have you tell over the exact same thing that you said at the Rittenhouse trial, that you showed them. They took one of your pictures and they showed the picture to you. And they said, they asked you, do you recognize who he is? And then they had this whole back and forth where he's like, they tell you that he's Joshua Ziminski. And then they're asking you to change a statement. And that reflects some serious questions about the ethics and integrity of the district attorney's office, specifically with respect to Joshua Ziminski. I mean, the reason Mark Richards brought up in the Rittenhouse trial is because he was trying to indict the overall integrity of the district attorney's office and the way they're prosecuting their cases and the incidents that occurred that night. All the more so, it is that much more relevant that for his defense counsel to put you up there on the stand, and I anticipate they probably will call you for this. They'll probably call you as a witness to have you repeat that entire incident that you already testified about previously, so that this brand new jury, which is going to be listening to the charges raised against him, will be able to hear that Binger, specifically this guy who's prosecuting the case, that he tried getting you to change your statement after he influenced your memory and started trying to basically plant seeds into your brain and then have you adopt that as part of your statement. That is something which is very damning to the district attorney's office. It's something that's very helpful to the defense of Joshua Ziminski. And if anything, you're pretty much the last person he should be trying to intimidate. That's why I'm saying what an utter moron this dude is.
Yes.
Because you are, from his perspective, his best friend. You are his lifeline. You're the guy he should be saying, this is the guy I need to take the stand, because when the jury hears him take the stand, they're going to realize that this district attorney's office, from his perspective, this district attorney's office is just out to get me and that I did nothing wrong. Now, do I think he did something wrong? Hell yeah. I saw tons of video. I saw what happened there. I have no doubt that this dude is every bit as bad as you guys are describing. More specifically, not you so much, Nathan, as Kevin is describing, but that he's every bit as shady and dangerous and freaky and perhaps engaged in criminal activity on that night, that as you're alleging. But from his perspective of staying out of jail, from his attorney's perspective of trying to present a case that's strongest in his defense, you, Nathan Debruin, are an invaluable asset to that defense. So for him to be threatening you is literally only like a complete and utter moron would do that. It's like basically, it's like, you are the man that he should be like protecting from anyone harming rather than threatening harm. So
I just would be remiss if I didn't very briefly just scroll through his rap sheet. And I will tell you this: Joshua Ziminski is not a convicted felon. And if that doesn't scare you, it should, because he bounces around between Kenosha and Racine, which each have very progressive prosecutors, like those Soros-backed, we won't prosecute these crimes. So I'm just going to real quickly tell you, and these are all arrests. Some of them are convictions. So we have battery. We have felony robbery, use of force. Battery. Robbery, use of force. Disorderly conduct. Carrying a concealed weapon. Carrying a concealed weapon. Bail jumping. Bail jumping. Operating while revoked, not a big deal. Carrying a concealed weapon. Second degree reckless endangering safety. Does that sound familiar? And this is years ago. This is 2007. Carrying a concealed weapon. Endangering safety using a dangerous weapon. Probation revoked. Okay. Disorderly conduct. Improper display of tags. Who cares? Carrying a concealed weapon. Possession of a switchblade knife. 2 separate charges. Traffic, bail jumping, bail jumping, bail jumping, traffic, carry and conceal weapon. Do you guys see a pattern here? Possession of a switchblade knife, operating while revoked, bail jumping, bail jumping, bail jumping. I'm on page 19 of 31. Let's see here. Violating a restraining order. 1, violating a restraining order. 2, now they're starting to charge him with repeater, habitual criminality. Violating a restraining order again. Battery, domestic battery. Traffic, hit and run. Again. Failure to notify police of, which is probably related to that. Operating while suspended. Hit and run again. So of all those crimes, there was at least 4 or 5 felonies there. But what these progressive prosecutors have done in his lifetime have pled everything down to misdemeanors. So hopefully this is the one that sticks. So he finally cannot carry a fucking gun, because that's the type of people we want not carrying guns in this world.
Yeah, I should have pulled this up earlier, because when I have a larger super chat, I try getting that up faster. Elaine Weldon says, Nathan, you're a man of integrity. Saw your testimony at Rittenhouse trial and was so impressed. How are you doing these days? Best of luck. So I really should have started by asking you that, but I was so intrigued by this story, I got lost in the heat of the moment. How have you been doing? Is everything going well for you?
I'm hanging in there. I actually just got approved for my EMDR therapy on Friday, so I can finally schedule an appointment. And after 38 attempts at calling different therapists, I finally got one to accept me.
What is EMDR? Emotional mental distress?
No, it's like eye
movement desensitization and repressing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I just wanted to get that whatchamacallit. Actually, I have someone else here who's referencing you. It says someone on Law and Crime today mentioned Nate on Twitter using his name Nathan. Told it later to show some respect and use his real name, PhotoChad.
Now, was that you guys?
Probably the lady that messaged me.
That's very funny.
So, Joe, did you guys coin that term, or what's the genesis of that term?
Yes, I believe it was actually Nick who came up with that nickname.
Okay, and then what about Grambo?
That also came up during her testimony, and I don't remember who came up with that nickname. I do remember that Nick is the one who came up with PhotoChad. I don't remember who first used Grambo on our stream, but let me get this one out. I know there are other super chats that I haven't brought up, but let me just get this one out of the way. Good to see you out of the dungeon. I guess the electrician showed my wife makes me drive everywhere. Does that make me a beta boy? No, that actually sort of makes you a beta boy, that you're listening to her instead of saying, no, I'm gonna kick up my feet here and play PUBG while you drive. But yeah. I appreciate that. Actually, I just flipped the fan around. It's still not even fixed, but that's for another story. I've been living with darkness here because I have a whole issue with my fan, and I can't get an electrician in here for nothing. Anyway, I want to get back to this. So when we were last telling this story, and I know there's other super chats that I missed, I'm going to come to all of them, God willing, before we wrap up tonight. I just sort of want to get the bigger ones out there. So let me just ask you. So when we were describing this whole story here and the sequence of events, so you get into the building and you're being escorted now by one of the security guards. And where do you go for now? You're still carrying this 20 by 24 photo, and which I'm surprised they didn't have you turn into the DA's office beforehand. But okay, so here it is. You're walking into court on the day that the jury's being selected, carrying what I assume the DA asked you. He asked you to produce this photo. This is not something you decide to produce on your own, correct?
No.
Well, remember during the Rittenhouse, see, I'm sorry to jump in, but Nate brought a shit ton of photos in for the Rittenhouse trial because he's a professional. He's like, I don't want these DAs printing out my shit on crappy paper. So he brought his own exhibits in. And Richards wanted to make sure that it was on the record that he did not ask the witness to bring these in. He's like, Your Honor, I've never seen this before, but I have a witness who brought in his own exhibits, and they kept them. They're part of the record that'll sit there for years. So
I think let's go back.
It's pride in his work, and he wants them to be good quality. All the power to him. I'm just saying he should send a bill to Binger and say, I want to be paid.
And I'm going to teach you the grift, Nathan. Okay. You basically need to find out how those exhibits are marked and then sell reprints of it and label it on your site as Exhibit 237 from the Rittenhouse trial, Exhibit 237. So this way people feel as if they're buying a piece of Americana. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep, I do.
You have to change on your website. So this way people know, oh my God, that's so cool. I
Yeah,
have
the
like this
originals.
exhibit. Yeah, that you have, like, you're creating your originals, from the creator himself. I think that's actually something that could lend added value to what it is that you're offering to the public.
It's way better than that NFT thing they're doing. This was the freaking picture that was in the Rittenhouse trial.
Okay, so yes, exactly. Yeah. This is evidence that helped exonerate Kyle Rittenhouse. We don't know what pictures got him off, so that's what I'm saying is that's why that's something I can see a lot of people having an interest in. So that you got to market it right so people understand what they're buying and they see the value of what they're getting.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's move forward. So you're carrying this 20 by 24 photo, and you just were harassed outside by Ziminski. Now you're being escorted, and where's the first place they take you? They took you to your attorney, or they took you to your attorney, or to meet with your attorney in the courthouse?
Yeah, they asked me where I needed to go. I showed them my subpoena because I'm not that familiar with the courthouse, and they showed me and directed me with them upstairs. And I said my attorney just told me to wait right here because he had another case to do prior to this. So I was just waiting for him out in the hallway, and I do believe Kevin just walks up to me and asked me if I seen Terry, and I said no, I didn't. I don't know if I could just walk in the courtrum or not. So that's why I was saying that's my attorney.
Oh, okay.
Terry Rose. And he walked or literally when we were just about to walk in, Terry walked out, and I began trying to tell him what was going on, but I was literally shaking.
I can imagine. I mean, you just had a guy he's much bigger than you physically, right?
Much bigger.
Okay, I don't know how tall you are. So, like, you have a tall appearance on camera. So, at least from what I can tell. So, how tall are you?
About 5'5".
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
I would have thought you were like 6 feet tall. So, okay. So, and this guy's like a foot taller than you. You're saying basically.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay. So now so you tell your attorney what happened. You're still shaking. What does your attorney say?
That we need to bring this up to Binger.
Okay.
Which I mean, he took everything from there. I do know they gathered in front of the courtroom. And
so this is out of your earshot. You didn't hear what happened. You just told your attorney what happened, then your attorney went and spoke directly to Binger.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And I was present for that conversation too.
You were present for the conversation there?
Yeah. So Binger knows me as Terry Rose's investigator because he's one of my main clients.
Okay.
And I interjected right away, and I said, "Hey, Binger, I said I'm a witness, just so you know, and I have a video." And I sent him my video too. And to be honest with you, Binger did not really seem to care. He didn't really understand the seriousness of what just happened. And remember,
do you have video of the interaction, the exchange between?
I have. This is the problem: is I kind of have video leading up to the exchange, and Nate's girlfriend has kind of right after it. Mm-hmm. But there's 3 cameras right there that I've already requested from the courthouse, so I will have those just so that there's no ambiguity, no doubt. So I'll have those any day.
So you don't have any video footage of the exchange between Nathan and
no, but I do have, I have Ziminski getting out of his car, walking up the stairs, turning around, seeing Nate, and stopping. So
okay,
all right. I just put something in the private chat if you want to share your screen later. But they just got his new booking photo, and he was booked at 12:42 p.m. and his new booking photo looks even worse than the last one.
So. Seeing here, this is the last one. This is the last thing you sent me.
Yep, in the private chat of the StreamYard.
So let me do this. So this is the new booking photo. So while I pull that out, why don't you? So did you heard the conversation between Binger and Rose?
Yeah.
Kevin. So how did that go? So he
So-
just why
Yeah,
don't you break
Terry
this
said,
down?
look, I was just told that the defendant in this case approached and accosted my client, and I intend to tell the judge about it, and I want to know what your thoughts are. And Binger's like, okay, what happened? You know, I told him I was a witness. He kind of just shrugged it off. He didn't really care. This is just so yeah. He was booked at 12:42 today, and I think
Oh,
he
you
will
wanna
not
pull up
see
Yeah,
the light of day for at least 3 years. Is my hope.
that's your expectation. Yeah. So in case any of you are wondering, he is 6'5". Let's see, get this a little bigger here. Joshua Joseph Ziminski, born 2/21/85, male, white, 6'5", 186 pounds. There's his address, and these are the charges that he's been charged with.
Yeah, so if you go down to the 2024-678, so just scroll down a little bit. Those are the 4 charges that Kenosha police sent over to the DA's office.
So 2020.
Yeah,
This is the 458. This right
no,
here.
go down a little bit more. Right there. Those 4 charges are the referrals that the Kenosha police sent to the DA's office. So that's second-degree reckless endangering.
So there's no right. Okay, fine.
If Schrader would have got that in front of him as a guilty, he would have probably given him 10 years at least, at the minimum.
Okay, so fine. Let's get back to this. So now, after your attorney speaks to Binger, so what does Binger do next? So he goes up and talks to Schroeder.
No, so Binger just went into the courtroom and sat down, did nothing.
Oh, that was outside. That was outside of the courtroom. I thought
Just outside of the courtroom, inside the courthouse, but just outside of the courtroom. And so Binger went in there, and the calendar was 7 pages. I mean, there was at least 30 or 40 cases that had to be called, and there was 13 jury trials scheduled for today. Ziminski was number 2. The number 1 jury trial was like an 8th DUI case.
Okay, so he's so what happens after this? So you're still outside now you're outside now by yourself, Nathan. At this point, you're in the lobby of the courthouse, I assume, at this point.
No, when everyone walked in, I walked in with them, but they walked into like the very front section of the court where I stayed back by the pew.
Right. Okay, fine. So now and how long are you waiting there before anything else happens? What's the next? What happens next in this whole story?
So I'll jump in and for the context, so much shit was going on. There was a huge lull for about 3 hours. Terry asked for a sidebar with Ziminski's attorney and Binger. They approached the judge, and the judge basically said, I don't want to hear anything about that case until I call it. So he kind of just sent the lawyers away.
Okay.
And that's when Ziminski decided to sit right behind me. And I have my laptop. I have my cameras. I was the pool photographer. So, I mean, I have to share my photos with anybody who asks. And he says to me, hey, are you the Kenosha County I guy? And I said, yeah, I sure am. He said, I don't really appreciate you talking shit about me all the time on your website. He said, well, stop breaking the law. And he said that in front of Binger and all these other attorneys. I'm thinking, this guy is just not off to a good start. He's not off to a good start. And so, of course, I tweeted that, because I have to while it's fresh in my mind.
Right.
And I'm thinking, man, and what's funny is the other pool photographer says, I'm not going to show up because nothing usually happens during jury trial. Well, something happened.
So now, so you're waiting there for like 3 hours. Was there a further exchange at any point between you and Joshua Ziminski, Nathan?
No, I sat on the opposite side of the courtroom and by myself.
Okay. So, and you held on to the photo? You gave it to your attorney, or what happened with the photo?
It kind of went back and forth throughout the time. For a little, he had it. For a little, I had it. So it just went back and forth for a while.
So eventually the case gets called. Right?
Yes, eventually, yes.
And what happens at that point?
I get told to come up by Terry, and I stood up in front of the courtroom, and Terry presented what happened outside the courtroom to the judge.
And so, some context: Terry Rose is the most tenured attorney in Kenosha County, and he's close to the state. He's been an attorney for over 55 years, so longer than I've been around. All of us have been alive, right? Yeah. And he's very respected, right? That's like an enlisted, an enlisted member of the Marines that climbs the ranks, even though an officer is technically above them, they're still respected. So Terry says, hey, come here, Nate, and which is usually not. You don't usually bring a witness up to the judge like that. And I don't know if you remember what Terry said, but Terry is.
I was shaking.
Terry is a pit bull lawyer, and like I said, he's been doing this 55 years, and he said, his dad was an attorney, his grandfather was an attorney. He basically said to the judge, my client was intimidated, my client was harassed, my client's going to be looking behind him, he's going to be looking out his window into the dark. He was shaking when I talked to him. He said, this defendant needs to be locked up to provide for my client's safety. And he did not mince words. And the defense attorney, I get it. He's got his defense attorney is Mike.
Has a duty to try to keep him free and on the streets.
And he basically said, look, this is an ambush. I don't know what happened. I haven't seen this photo. And then he looks at the photo, and I think, by the way, is the facial expressions, he thought, oh shit, that's my client. This is a trial I'm about to try, right? I mean, because this picture is freaking this big. And so Ziminski's like this big, And Schrader basically said, you know what? I've seen this defendant in these videos during the Rittenhouse trial. So there is an abundance of evidence against this defendant. And now with these allegations, deputy, come here. And the deputy did not move fast enough. I mean, Schrader wanted this guy in handcuffs. Deputy, come here. And then he says, your bond is now $14,000, and I'm going to add a condition of bond. You have no contact with Mr. Debruin. And then it was like Jerry Springer. I don't know what you remember seeing, but
I thought he was going to get, when he got up, and I just saw it, because I try not to look at him, but I saw his hand go up, and I didn't know what was about to happen. But then I realized he was talking to his mother and his child. And
so what happened? What happened? You said it's like Jerry Springer.
So mom stands up and she starts screaming, and Schrader doesn't. He has a lot of patience when you wouldn't expect him to, and so the mom's screaming and she's making admissions, right? She's saying in open court in front of tons of police officers, tons of attorneys, this is bullshit that you're taking away, and then she starts involving the kids. Oh, that mean judge is taking your daddy to jail, that type of bullshit, which I hate, getting kids involved. And then all he did was tell him that he wanted to see the picture and that he wasn't in the picture. That's all he said. So she's basically admitting in open court that he's accused of doing is true, which is just those type of people that they don't have brains.
Right. Look, this is a guy who's trying to intimidate a witness who arguably he should be calling himself. So
exactly.
Clearly we're scraping the bottom of the barrel of people who are functioning, who are engaging critical analysis of a situation and how to best handle it.
Yeah. And then so Ziminski's like, oh, I love you, Mom, and I love you, but he's trying to play the sympathy card, and Schrader's not having it. And then the deputy grabbed him, and the mom just wouldn't shut up. She just kept screaming, this is not fair. He didn't do anything wrong. He's innocent, all this shit. And the judge kind of, he's lying, and went on for a little bit. And then finally the judge told the lady, shut up and get the hell out of here. And he had to escort her out of the building, out of the courtroom. Wow. And now she's got 3 kids. So now she just got custody of 3 kids like that.
Right. So, but he didn't threaten you at all, Nathan, right? Did he turn and yell at you at all during this whole Jerry Springer moment?
No.
Okay.
No, and like I said, he was just at an angle. I was sitting kind of close to him, but he did not say nothing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
but like I said, I was so still visibly even shaking that I just looked forward majority of the time.
Right. In fact, the photo that is in the thumbnail that I created for tonight's stream of you, I think is something that Kevin, you shot that today, right? That was a
Yep.
shot that's him just sort of staring straight ahead. He's like, I don't want to, I don't need to make eye contact with anyone. I'm just gonna sit here and get through this. So, so how are you feeling tonight? Are you like, you know, are you calmed? Are you like, are you still
My
stressed about
anxiety
this?
my anxiety is pretty bad right now.
I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that.
Well, the good news is if you ever see this son of a bitch anywhere near you and you call, the police, he'll be arrested. But they will notify you if he's released because now you're a victim, right? And so the one thing that we shouldn't forget is the judge then officially adjourned the case. We figured it was going to happen, but he did not bring the defendant back. So the defendant's getting booked, and the judge says to Binger in so many words, I'm going to adjourn this to give you and the sheriff's department time to investigate to see if there's any new crimes to charge. And you know how disorderly conduct is kind of like the catch-all Joe. So I would hope that at least he gets some kind of charge, because in Wisconsin, if you're out on bail for a felony, any crime, misdemeanor or felony, becomes a felony bail jumping, which is punishable by up to 6 years in prison. So I really would like to see some crime charged here, because if I beat my wife up, right, or I allegedly beat my wife up and I see her and I have a no contact, and I say to her, I didn't hit you. Get over here. Stop. I didn't hit you. I didn't ask her to lie. I didn't try to prevent her from testifying. But by me saying I didn't hit you, it's intimidating, and it's implying that I want her to lie about it, because we both know what happened, right? Just like Ziminski knows he set that trailer on fire and he shot the gun in the air. Mm-hmm. So by him saying that's not me in that picture, it's almost an implicit threat. If you say it's me, you're going to be in trouble. But the guy needs to come up with 13 grand. I don't think that's going to happen. It took him, I think, a week to come up with the 1,000. Mm-hmm. So taking a week to come up with 1,000, I don't think he's got 13 grand. I don't think he's got family with 13 grand. I don't think Antifa or BLM is going to put up that money.
But I mean, maybe Kamala will, but
yeah,
because she raised money for the BLM.
And here's the thing too: is that is just not good behavior in front of the judge who's now going to be deciding your sentence.
Right.
So I had Terry actually had a client who was sentenced for first degree murder, and it's a mandatory life sentence, but the judge's mercy can be allowing parole at the minimum of 20 years. So the judge, the Schrader, told this defendant, I was going to give you eligibility for parole, but you were so disruptive in court that I don't think you're going to follow rules, and I don't think you'll be rehabilitatable. Life in prison, no parole. So Schrader doesn't like that shit where you scream out in court and this is bullshit, that type of thing. So he made a very, very bad mistake here for sentencing and for anything else.
I agree with you. And it is the sort of thing, especially because, if you're saying if it devolved anything remotely like what you're describing here, just, my audience should be aware that, the last thing that a judge ever wants is for his stage to remind anyone of the Jerry Springer show. Your courtroom is your house when you're the judge, and you expect there to be a certain level of decorum. And yeah, I agree. I certainly concur with your assessment there.
And this judge too, speaking of that, is not a fan of the DA's office. Nate got to see firsthand how often he slams that DA's office. I mean, he might hate Binger and those guys more than we do. He just every case, we're not ready to proceed. Why are you not ready to proceed? I mean, he's very critical of that office.
Judge Schroeder is getting worked up by the end of by the time lunch came around.
And you actually mentioned to me, and I meant to actually talk about this, and I never got a chance to actually produce anything on it. But in the wake of the Rittenhouse trial, that both Binger and Kraus, their next cases, they both lost. Now you have to understand, and to my audience, the reason that was significant to Kevin, and he mentioned it to me, and I agree with him about the significance of this, is that a district attorney is not used to losing. They don't lose very often because they only prosecute cases they feel fairly confident they're going to win.
They get to pick their battles.
Yeah, they pick their battles. They decide who they're going to go after, who they're not going to go after, and they only go after people when they feel like they're really going to win. So that's why, I mean, the highest rate of success that I've heard of is in the Southern District of New York. Supposedly they have a 95% conviction rate, although it's hard to understand what that means because, when you say 95% conviction rate, well, they went after, in the last case I watched there was the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and in that trial they convicted her on 5 out of 6 charges. So when they're doing these percentages, it's hard to know, well, is that 100% or is that considered winning 84% because you lost on 1 out of 6? Like, how are you doing the math?
You did that math before tonight, didn't you?
My math is surprisingly good for an attorney.
5 out of 6. That's good for on the spot like that.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's really hard to know when they're saying these numbers what it really means at the end of the day. But and that 95% is unusually high, but almost every district attorney does better than 4 out of 5. And for them to both lose on the successive cases, and I think you mentioned to me that you spoke with jurors from those successive cases who were like, when they saw Binger, they recognized him from the Rittenhouse trial and said, "I know that guy. He's an a-hole," and they just don't like him now. So their hunger to go after Kyle and convict him on those ridiculous charges that were levied against him, and the shenanigans that they played, which became exposed in court, their violation of his due process rights and Fifth Amendment rights, and everything, that the way they handled that entire thing, prosecuting them for possession of a gun on a case that gets charge that gets dismissed because it was patently absurd and made no sense under the law. All their whole approach with Kyle compromised their own reputation in the eyes of the jury pools, which are coming further down the road. And this is a ripple effect of the Rittenhouse cases. I think now you have to worry that that your Kenosha district attorney office is going to be handcuffed from being able to actually prosecute anyone, even in theory, violent criminals like a Joshua Ziminski, because they've basically stained their own reputations for integrity so badly and so publicly in the Rittenhouse trial. So hopefully Binger doesn't blow it on this one. And hopefully,
I'll just give you a brief synopsis on those two cases. So I think it was either 1 or 2 weeks after the Rittenhouse case, Kraus prosecuted solo a sexual assault case, and Binger prosecuted solo a sexual assault case. So in Binger's case, it was a sexual assault of an adult woman, and she had biological material in the rape kit, and it was a positive match to the defendant. So I don't know how you lose a case like that, because it was on the side of the road, for crying out loud. It's not like they were seen leaving a bar going, and this would happen in a bedroom. This is on the side of the road. And I talked to 2 jurors, and the one said, the first thing we all said when we got in the jury room, when we, because, they can't talk, right? So as soon as they get in that jury room and they're allowed to talk, they all just have something to say. And they said, we all talked about how that was Binger, the guy who prosecuted Rittenhouse. And she said, we just really, all of our doubts went to the defendant because we just don't trust that guy, right? And a woman I spoke to actually said, I feel so terribly with the not guilty verdict, because even though they didn't prove the case and Binger's reputation helped him not be able to prove the case, that guy may be going free and he may be guilty. And that is a very sad notion, that the reputation of the DA's office, where me and Nate and 100,000 other people live, that these guys that are charged too leniently anyways are now going to get off. Same thing with Kraus's trial. He lost, and it was a sexual assault. In those cases, the detectives and the special crimes, bureaus, they're very good at what they do. And those cases are 99% guilty. And to have 2 not guilty or two failed prosecutions directly after the Rittenhouse trial by both of those prosecutors. It's not. I don't believe in coincidences. So, maybe it's time for those guys to move on, go to a different DA's office, or just try a new occupation.
Let me pull up some super chat. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nate.
Binger did not say a word to me today.
I'm not surprised by that. I mean, it's not like you're
not a word.
It's not like he considers you a friend.
And here's the thing, when you're Binger and you're thinking about, I need to put this dangerous criminal in prison. If I'm Binger, I'm thinking, I don't care that I hate this Debruin guy because he embarrassed me in front of 1 million people, and now there's memes of me, Brokeback Mountain with Krause. I should be able to forget all that and think, right now I have a job to do, and I need to be friendly to Nathan, and I need to make sure he has his questions answered, and he's ready to go. But instead, he plays the silent treatment because he's upset, and he's holding a grudge.
I have no problem. I personally don't have.
You're making a fair point. You would think that Binger would actually come over to him and actually hear directly from the person who was targeted by Ziminski before going up to the judge. And
that's the thing is, to go back, Terry made a good speech to the judge about what happened. Then he asked Binger. He says, "Does the state have anything to say?" And Binger was really caught off guard. Like, you didn't think that the judge was going to ask what your opinion was? And Binger was like, well, yeah, I guess he said something to Nate, and Mathewson, who's Terry's investigator, also witnessed it. Well, yeah, I'm Terry's investigator, but I don't have any connection to this case in my official capacity. I'm just an observer, and I'm here as part of the media.
He's actually shooting in the foot the whole case, the whole attempt to have him thrown in and have him incarcerated, because by trivializing you or minimizing the impact of your testimony on the basis that you might be biased as and
if you remember,
for Terry,
they asked Nathan, "Oh, isn't it true that the attorney that's here representing you is a good friend of the gossip blogger?" And is he was talking about Terry. He happens to be one of the clients that I work for a lot, and Binger should have been the one telling the judge, this defendant needs to be in jail until trial. Instead of it was a witness's attorney, for fuck's sake. I mean, it just bothered me. It should have been Binger banging the drum for this guy needs a higher bond.
Yeah, spot on. I totally agree with you. Let me catch up on some super chats here that I missed. So let me go down here. Where are you? Right. So generic commenter says, great guest tonight. Jim Satala says, Joe, please extend my invitation. Enjoy some sun from one former Midwesterner to a future former Midwesterner. Andy the Game Maker says, hey, Nate, looking forward to getting together again. So I didn't know, you met Andy before in the past?
I have.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he's a good
people.
I
have. He actually gave me one of his games right here.
Oh, wow. I didn't get one of those. I didn't get that. What the hell is that? I gave 2 hours of my time to this guy. I didn't get nothing. I got nothing. What the hell?
Guess got to meet him in person.
I guess so. What's interesting is I guess my audience doesn't really like super chats because I went like instantly from 1,300 viewers to 69 viewers right now, like literally in a span of like 4 seconds. So I guess every one of them clicked off as soon as I said I'm doing super chats. That's
no, I'm when you have 1,300. It just must be one.
I'm just saying YouTube.
Okay, gotcha.
YouTube does not like me. And by the way, if you're not subscribed, whether you're watching me, whether you're watching this here on my channel or you're watching on Kenosha County I urge you, please hit the subscribe button. It really matters a lot. And hit the bell so you get noticed when I get more great guests like these two individuals right here. Picking up on the rest of these on the rest of these super chats. So Kyle Bogue says, oh, I got this long crime thing. And Phoebe Z says, I'm a PhotoChad simp. And who isn't? Mo Zamboni says 6'5", 186. Lol, I'm 6'1", 205. I'd whoop that ass. All right. Well, there you go. Oh, and I just had one that I just missed a second ago, and that was this. Leanne Flynn says Binger was in the Milwaukee County DA's office before Kenosha. He also lost the election when he ran for Racine County DA. He's not missed in Milwaukee. I'm sure he's not. I think that his career, I frankly, I'm not looking for him to suck at his job, because that just means that you're not going to convict people. It's like an unfortunate situation for Kenosha, if indeed that is the case, because that's just ridiculous. I mean, the last thing you want is people like Joshua Ziminski being able to do whatever the hell they want, and on the rare occasion that they decide to actually prosecute the case, that they struggle to actually succeed in obtaining a conviction because the guys have damaged their own reputation so badly.
I got to do one super chat real quick.
Yeah, do it.
Dear Kevin, you look unusually handsome tonight. I love your bald head and chubby face.
There you go. Do you have others that you?
No, I don't.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I made that one up.
And and by the way, yeah, I also love your bald head and chubby face. It's yeah. So yeah, your viewers are not alone. So I wanted to ask you. So first of all, I wanted to also follow up that you shared with me here in the chat, and I didn't get a chance to put this in, but that there's also a give, send, go. For Nate, if you're interested in supporting him and helping him out and sending him sending him some support, because obviously he's dealing with attorney's fees, and he has his counseling issues now, which finally you actually got reapproval. You say you found a doctor who's able to help you out with that.
Yes, I did, and I am trying to relocate currently.
All right, and I just put this.
For those of you wondering, these are 0 carbs. I'm on my keto kick. And when I get a sweet, sugar-free, carb-free, believe it or not, if you would have seen me a couple years ago, I was 100 pounds lighter. So I get fat and skinny fat. It's in my genes. I like food. I like tacos more than I like running on a freaking treadmill.
Same here. So, are you actually planning on leaving Kenosha soon, Nate, or what's the plan there?
Well, depending on the funds and what I can get to help me along the way, and there's a couple reasons I do want to leave, because it's putting my family through a tremendous amount of stress. My girlfriend, who Kevin met today, and heard this firsthand, she is working multiple jobs right now so we can afford to live. And it's not fair to her to have to do that. And unfortunately, I can't do that. And I want to be able to help as much as I can and be able to relocate us so we can have a fair life.
I wish you certainly all the success in the world in that. I'm getting a note here from Nerniath, who's one of my mods. He says that the give, send, go is disabled for some reason. But when I clicked on it just now, it seems to work. Maybe I didn't copy it properly. Does that make any sense? I've copied it properly. I'm not sure what the story is. Maybe he just clicked something wrong. I don't know. What's my audience saying? Is it working? Yeah, Truth says he's saying it's working. So, all right. So when they said that this case was adjourned, did they give you any idea as to when it is that you're due back in court?
Yeah, so there's a pretrial in early March where, I don't know why this case was very clear that there was going to be no pleas. It was, if he wanted to plead outright to everything, he was going to allow that, but no pleas. So there's a pretrial. I didn't even write the date down, but March 28th will be jury selection. And this time, the son of a bitch will be in a jumpsuit.
Amen. Isn't he's spending at least 2 months in jail? So I agree with you. There's no way I can imagine he's going to raise $13,000.
No.
Marcel says, I was 300 at the beginning of the Rona. Now I'm down to 190 doing keto and lots of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Love from Canada, Joe, and plug your donation PhotoChad. I want to help. So I think that the link is working now. It's there in the description. So you guys should check it. Anyone who's sending money to me through Super Chats, that's not going to find its way to PhotoChad. That's going to stop at YouTube, they're going to take their money off the top. If you use an iPhone, it stops there first, then it stops at YouTube, then it comes to me, and that's where it dies. It doesn't make it all the way to PhotoChad. So please do not think that any money that you send in Super Chat is going to end up by PhotoChat, because it's not. But I strongly encourage all of you to help this man out here. He's a phenomenal talent, and just what my people would call a mensch, and he's shown bravery and been harassed really like unjustifiably by a lot of people who have nothing to do with the case, people who just have crazy perspective on the world and have basically come out and attacked him for doing nothing other than telling the truth as to what he witnessed on August 25th, 2020. Move to North Carolina, PhotoChad. You're one of the good Northerners. We'd love to have you and your girlfriend in the Tar Heel State. Are you guys, by the way, how far are you? You're like in southern Wisconsin, right?
So all the way southeast, right on Lake Michigan and the border of Illinois.
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with everything that's happening with the whole truck thing that I'm really not supposed to be?
These truckers that said F you to Trudeau?
Yes. So, because I was actually covering that somewhat the other night on my stream, only you cannot actually use the C word referring to a voy thing. You're not supposed to use that, apparently. I don't know if you're aware of all the parameters of what we can say and cannot say in the Rhineland here, where we're living under authoritarian control, that we can't actually say certain things. I was told to avoid the use of the word truck, but I assume I can actually use that word. But for a train of trucks that are basically going somewhere and stopping somewhere, so you're not supposed to actually use that word. Otherwise, your channel, you get demonetized and all sorts of terrible things happening to you. So yeah, so I was just wondering if you guys had a chance to check that out, because Viva Fry today went to Ottawa, and Viva Fry followed him to Ottawa, and he was like a man on the street there today, doing a great job just reporting on this. And this is something that everyone needs to understand, the power of people and who are trying to exert their will. And what made me think of this is because I was thinking about what PhotoChad has been going through. I've been looking at how people have been how the left can basically get so riled up and out of control and crazed and just following orders and things of that nature. And that's something that, is disconcerting. But then I see people like with this person here in my chat, Kim D, saying, and I say to myself, and I look at the truckers who are saying we're not going to back down. There are good people out there. There are a lot of good people. I think the good people out there, I'm so white-pilled. I think there's so many more good people than bad people. I just think that the bad people out there, the Ziminskis of the world, the people who are looking to stir up crap, the people who are looking to be Karens and complaining and directing you what you can and cannot do, and shake their finger at you for not complying and obeying with whatever new restrictions some unelected official comes down with tomorrow. The people are rising up, and I think the evidence of that is so overwhelming. And I wanted to ask you if that gives you any reason to take heart, that hey, look, you know what, things are starting to swing back in a healthy direction towards normalcy, because people like you and me are starting to like stand up and say, you know what, we're not taking it anymore.
And I was talking with a friend about this. As more Americans than other countries, because I love America the best, but all throughout history, oppressed people only can take so much until they start to rise up and fight back. And that's happened all through history. And in Canada and here in the US, I mean, we're getting sick of this shit. And what happens? We finally get enough. A leader or two or three emerges, and then boom, you have these massive things, and hopefully it sparks some type of change.
And I believe in peaceful change, not violence at all. I believe in people coming together and the power of peaceful protest, but it's unrelenting peaceful protest. If you just like do it for like 10 minutes and stop, well, in that case, it's not going to do anything. But the unrelenting peaceful protest is something that our elected leaders can't ignore. When things start to clamp down, when things start to bog down, and the system doesn't just keep running because it always has and therefore always will, when that starts to happen, that's when they wake up, when they're like, oh, okay, people are really mad here. Maybe we should actually change our direction here. By the way, Nate, you got an offer. At Jennifer Gwenter says, at Nate, move to Hickory, North Carolina. I have a job for you. So there you go. So you maybe, if you are you thinking going down to North Carolina, because this is the second person telling you that's the place to be. So I'm noticing a trend here.
I don't have a place set in mind yet.
It's Kenosha, damn it, because he's not moving. You get that?
I don't get it. I don't get it. You see, I'm going to tell you this. So I'm an Orthodox Jew. Okay. So basically, with respect to choices of where it is that I can live, I'm literally highly restricted on where I can live, because part of being a practicing Orthodox Jew is that you actually have to live in communities with other Jews, because on a regular basis, 3 times a day, we're doing prayers. And you have to have a group of other men around to do prayers with. You need to have food accessible, the kosher food where you can actually, stores set up that will actually carry kosher food. So that means that my choice is, if you're living here in the Northeast, there's a lot of places that I can live here in the Northeast. But once I move out of the Northeast, I'm really very limited. If I go down to Finoki, North Carolina, I'm going to be very limited in what I'm actually able to eat. And I'm not going to be able to find 10 men that can gather together for prayers
So
3 times a day. What?
You're strict with your faith.
I am. I'm strict with my faith, and because of that, I need to live in somewhat of an established Orthodox Jewish community. So when I'm stuck here living in the cold in crazy woke New Jersey, 10 miles from woke New York City, that's not because I choose that. It's because basically, if I want to get out of this, I have to go down to Miami. That's basically what my choice is. That's the only other place I'm going to find a community of Orthodox Jews. So. And but you guys, you go anywhere you want, go wherever you want. Why stay in the cold? I don't understand it. Why? Explain it to me.
Family and friends and business.
Okay. I asked another YouTuber this question, someone that most of you know and have seen before. I'm not going to mention any names. It happens to, those who may know my channel well, for a hint to them, his name might rhyme with Rick Belletta. So I was talking to a guy, an anonymous guy whose name happens to rhyme with Rick Belletta, and I was like, "Why would you live in freezing cold? Why? Why would you do that?" And he told me that his wife's family, like, he has no choice. He's stuck there. And is that what it is? You just get roots and you're stuck. And that's why you don't just like get the hell out of there, because I would be out of there so fast if that's it. I mean, seriously,
who we have to blame is the original settlers who decided on freaking Wisconsin. It's cold, 7 months of the year, but yeah, I mean, it's hard. And I got kids, so grandparents want to see their grandkids, and
so this is also for Nate, I assume, because I don't know, or maybe for you, Kevin. I don't know. I'm a stonemason in the Fox Cities. I'll hire you tomorrow. What's the Fox Cities? Do you know what that is?
I do not.
I'm Googling that shit.
Fox City.
It's Wisconsin. Appleton area.
Oh,
it's about 3 hours north of us.
Okay, so this is what was just shared with me.
Close to the Lambeau Field.
But underneath, I'm very confused. Texas is God's country, just saying, check DM, Joe. So I checked my DM, and this is what he's sharing with me. So I want to share this with you. I'm very confused. So it says this campaign is currently disabled and cannot receive any donations.
Disabled his old one and started a new one.
That's the old one, Nernieth. The old one. Did you click the link that I sent? You're clicking old, ancient stuff, ancient history.
Yeah,
that was a whole trial ago.
Strictly to help me move.
All right, so yeah, I appreciate the help, Nernieth, but dude, come on, get on the game. And Carson Depp says, my cousin is rabbi of Orthodox shul in Charleston, South Carolina. There's no Ortho shul in Charleston, South Carolina. Come on. Really? Really? Really?
Hey, Joe, is there some kind of wires that go around the city of New York that has something to do with your faith? Is that a myth?
No, it's not a myth.
That's
not
real.
A myth. Yeah. So, yeah, it's not like the entire city, and it's not really in Manhattan. They have it more in Brooklyn, and then they have it around my neighborhood where I live. It's not actually. They basically will have poles, and across the poles they'll have a wire basically encircling an area where Orthodox Jews live.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, this comes from the guy living in Jersey. I explained why I'm living in Jersey. I explained why. I don't have a choice. If I had choices, I wouldn't be here. But I mean, as it happens, I also live next door to my sister, which is actually a very convenient thing. But yeah, it's actually called, as this person says, an eruv, and that's what Rabbi DJ BK says, and that's correct. It's called an eruv. An eruv is basically what makes it permissible to carry on the Sabbath. Otherwise, we can't carry outside of the confines of our house. So if you establish an eruv around a community, when the eruv is basically those poles around the whole thing, for me to explain to you the rabbinic basis for how it works and what it does, it would take me like a half hour of boring the hell out of everyone here. So I'm not going to walk you through it, but that is an actual thing. And yeah, so a lot of communities have it. It doesn't work in an area which is very dense population, which is why you'll never see it in New York City. It's considered something that is ineffective there. Jennifer Gwen says, Nate, not kidding. A nonprofit helping people with disabilities, Western North Carolina. I can get you in tomorrow. So I mean, I think he needs to know more. If you want to, yes. So Jennifer, if you want to DM him, if anyone's looking at his Twitter profile is listed down below. It's at Photos by Nate D. So if you're interested,
also, you can get my Venmo information because I see people asking for that. All that is listed on my little channel description.
Well, there you go. There you go.
People are just so nice.
Nancy Duggan says, nice Ortho Jewish population in Wyoming. Crazy enough, one is my lawyer. Really? Abe Exton says, why do you live in Harrytown? That's a better question. I don't know what Harrytown is. If that's a reference to one of my neighbors, that's really disconcerting. But because one of my friends and neighbors, who's actually a pretty influential person here, his first name is Harry. But so I'm not sure if it's a reference to that. But yeah, if you're wondering why I live in the town I live in, it's that I
think Harrytown is in England.
I don't know. Is that an actual place, Harrytown?
I think so.
Huh. Here we go. My father's saying, here we go. This is my father. See, he says, Orthodox shul in Charleston, South food is a problem. Phoenix is growing. Rabbi Landisman built community there. All right. Well, thank you, Dad. Thank you,
Mr.
Dad.
Neerman, thanks for watching.
Yes, thank you.
I actually plan on having. Yeah, it's okay. I actually plan on having him on here. He has a doctorate in medieval Christianity, so he's come on my show many times before.
Wait, a doctorate in what?
In medieval Christianity, in Christian Muslim relations. He speaks Arabic. He's an Orthodox rabbi who speaks Arabic, and has a doctorate in Christian Muslim relations. So I brought him on here in the past. I actually plan on having him come back here, God willing, assuming everything works out. That would be tomorrow. He's supposed to be back here. So he's been on my show a few times. He's a fan favorite here. Because he tells stories, like he's been a teacher his whole life, professor his whole life, and he's phenomenal. So he's very popular here, far more popular than I am. Whenever I disagree with him, everyone's like tells me, "Shut up, Joe. Listen to your dad." It's really kind of humbling. So, yeah. So I urge all you to check that out.
The commandment to honor your father and mother.
That is one of the commandments.
And you know what? Christians like me and Nate, and Jews like you, we can agree on a lot of stuff in the Old Testament, right?
Amen. Amen. In fact, I'm going to tell you this much. Part of the reason I'm a hardcore conservative, part of the reason is because everything about fundamental America, the fundamental ideals that America was established on, is entirely consistent with my faith. It's actually, I mean, there's a Judeo-Christianity which is laced into which was laced into the thinking and ideology of the founding fathers, and you can see it in the Constitution. The Bill of Rights is basically everything that's in the Bill of Rights is completely consistent with the moral perspective of both Judaism and Christianity. So that's why I've become such a staunch conservative, because I think that those fundamental values are actually a healthy way to live. I think that it's a perfect form of morality, or not saying a perfect form of morality. Better way of phrasing it is, I think that it's what's the term I'm looking for? It sort of is sculpted based on a healthy perspective of morality and enables individuals to live a very healthy lifestyle. So, Harry is slang for weirdo. I was making fun of Passaic. Thank you, Abe. All right. Oh, okay. Wow, that's a reference that's really from the corner. Very few people would get that Harry reference. Francisco Linares says, "Seriously, Joe, tell me the secret to Jew money." Yeah, I get that a lot from this guy here. It's basically my channel has devolved to him asking me for the secret of Jew money, and Mandy Karavicious making snide cracks about my Dallas Cowboys. So, are you guys handling the whole Packers situation okay? Have you guys recovered from
Yeah, they didn't deserve to win the game. They just played like crap.
Yeah.
I assume you're both hardcore. You're both hardcore Packer fans.
Yeah,
I am.
Were
Yes.
you have a blocked kick, blocked punt in the same game. You just weren't meant to win.
Did you watch the Edgecombe trial?
I watched you guys talking about it mostly.
Right, because so Judge Borowski there, he was carping and so bitter about the Packer loss. He's like, look, I got to wrap this trial tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm supposed to go up to Green Bay and interview for a job as a special teams coach.
I think the Packers special teams was ranked last in the league.
Yeah.
I read that more. Yeah,
I actually saw something like that also. It's kind of humiliating to lose because it was special teams play. But what can I say? I mean, the Niners ended up upending my Cowboys. So Pontone says, there's an Orthodox community in Atlanta. I used to live near it and saw the members often probably walking in groups around the area. Nice neighborhood. Yeah, I know this, that in what's the other area? Savannah. In Savannah, Georgia, is actually a very big Orthodox community. So I guess there are a handful of them out there. Anyway, yeah.
So the final word on Ziminski is, I believe there will be a live stream. I think Law and Crime is going to be a pool videographer. They were there today.
You mentioned to me about Law and Crime. That's what I knew I had a note that I wanted to get to that. So what happened with Law and Crime today?
So Law and Crime. So the way it works in Kenosha is there's a media coordinator. They have to ask for permission to either still photos or video. So Judge Schrader will allow 2 still photographers and 1 video, and then the video becomes a pool, and so do the photos. And they did not. I don't think they got proper permission today, so they weren't able to stream it. But I would imagine somebody will request it, permission to stream. If it's not Law and Crime, somebody. So it should be streamed live. And I'm still one of the pool photographers, so I will be there tweeting updates, stuff like that. Not as cool as walking out of the courtroom with a cigarette selfie, but I'll be in.
Wait a second. Are you referring to this? Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
So, yeah, I gave up the smoking, but I still have the picture.
Oh, you did good. Yeah, I quit smoking when my son was born, and it's been, how old is my son? 11 years. No smoking, no drinking.
Wow, good for you. Good for you. So
I was having 2-day hangovers, man.
I want to ask you. I want to ask you about the rules for the pool cameras there, because as you know, there was a whole incident that came up during the Edgecombe trial, and I think it's that they were still salty about the Rittenhouse trial, where Law and Crime was very, very dissatisfied with with Nick Rekieta, because he famously streamed out the Rittenhouse trial, and they're claiming that he's violating their copyright by sharing their stream, which sometimes he has used their stream. Whenever he does, their logo is up in the corner. Sometimes he uses a different feed. He goes with whatever feed is working best, I think. But so my question for you is, what can you, as a court reporter, what can you tell us about the court feeds with respect to ownership, use? What's your understanding of that? Seeing as you're someone who actually films yourself sometimes, right?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I will tell you, a seasoned judge such as Schrader. So in the Rittenhouse, all of us media got a pretrial order. And on page 5 of the order, actually, I'm going to pull it up so I can quote it verbatim. And I sent this to Nick, but I'm sure that son of a bitch gets so many emails that it got lost in the shuffle. But on page 5 of the email, or page 4, it says video cameras pursuant to Supreme Court rule, blah, 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 space is limited. The remote video cameras provided by Court TV will be permitted in the courtroom to be mounted, blah, blah, blah. Talks about location. And then it says live coverage of the trial shall be permitted except during jury selection. Neither Court TV nor any other media outlet will hold a copyright or any other intellectual property rights for any of the raw footage from the cameras or transmission feeds that produce that would prevent any media outlet or entity from using, broadcasting, or sharing any footage or other free use thereof.
That's the rules of the whole court. That's the rules of Schroeder's part. Where are you reading from here?
Supreme Court rules. I mean, I don't know how other states work, but the Supreme Court basically, with the separation of powers, the Supreme Court says, look, if you're going to have a pool photographer or a pool camera, no such thing as copyrights. As far as, well, I shouldn't say it like that, but so the video, nobody can claim copyright to it because it's in public, right? Photographer, still like myself, it's a little different because you're getting different captures, different angles, like the picture I took of Nate today.
There's more, right? There's more freedom of expression. It's far more artistic.
But in the case of the Rittenhouse, or I'm sorry, in the Ziminski trial, I'm a pool photographer. So if somebody else who requested permission after me got denied, then they can ask me for my photos and I have to give it to them. But then they have to cite courtesy Kevin Mathewson, Kenosha County I. So they can use them, but I still retain the copyright. So I could sell them. I can basically do whatever else I want. But as far as the video, nobody can claim copyright because everything that's happening is in a public forum and there's really no artistic thing. So if that would have been in Kenosha, there would be no standing whatsoever to argue against the streaming.
So, and before we started streaming tonight, you mentioned to me something about a conversation you had with Law and Crime about their bitch fest about Nick Rekieta. So, you want to relay that over here as far as what exactly happened in the exchange?
I think they're just. I was talking to a younger man who I don't know if, and here's the thing too is in the journalism industry, a lot of like the reporter they sent today from Law and Crime. I was talking to her, gave her my card because we thought the trial was going. So it's always good to exchange information with other media for breaks and, hey, get in here, they're starting. But she happened to be an independent company, some kind of production company. So I don't really know if the gentleman I was speaking to works for Law and Crime or was an independent contractor, but just basically said that, you guys were the talk, you guys in your streaming were the talk of the water cooler, so to speak, where
I didn't know they have a water cooler. I thought Law and Crime was like 4 people.
I think it got, what's the guy's name who runs that whole thing? That owns the station.
Who owns Law and Crime? I'm not sure. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that right now.
Is it that Abrams or Abrams or whatever?
Oh,
Yeah,
Dan
something
Abrams.
like that.
Right,
Yeah,
Dan
yeah.
Abrams. Thank you, Nate. That's right, Dan Abrams.
But I was watching Nick's stream on that. That guy's pretty funny.
And by the way, Nate, Jennifer's saying to check your DM there. So
okay,
I think that's Dan Abrams. So Yeah, so I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. This entire issue that they raised, in my personal and professional opinion, I believe that this is nothing other than someone who's just very bitter about the fact that they feel like they're the primary streamer of something, and they were completely walloped in the ratings by people who are putting out a far superior product.
If I would have hooked into the the crime TV or court TV, switchboard and streamed it on my website, and I had my Kenosha County Eye logo in the corner, if somebody else restreamed that, I would probably encourage that. I'd say thanks. My logo's getting seen out there. So
Right.
I mean, I don't know what their issue is. If anything, it brought maybe more exposure to their brand. They didn't see it that way, obviously.
I think that pettiness is a very short-sighted perspective as far as doing what we do, because someone pointed out to me that I never realized this. I don't have official credentials, but that when I was doing the Maxwell trial, that like I became a reporter. I was no longer just an attorney, and that what I'm doing here is really a form of journalism. I'm explaining to people what's going on in the world and giving my perspective on it, and that what I'm doing is journalism. And I never feel threatened. That I think that anyone who's sharing stuff that I do, if any of you out there want to share stuff I do and use that to help promote yourself, I think at the end of the day, that only helps me. That only makes people seek me out. That makes people want to use me. People use Nate's photos, okay? And I mean, everyone has to make their own choices. And there, at least he's having some artistic light. He's expressing his artistry there far more than a court feed. But so he's giving his own unique perspective on it. And similarly, you or I, Kevin, when we're reporting on something, we're giving our own unique take on it. I still feel like, what? If I have that much more exposure, I'm going to rise that much more. You want to know why Nick exploded? Do you know what happened that he actually ended up getting to 130,000 people? This is how the snowball happened. This is why right now I have 1,200. The reason I have 1,200 people watching me right now, okay, is because, and I had 1,400 before when we were, talking about the meat and potatoes, the Ziminski developments today. So the reason that happened is because Nick was solo streaming that trial. So understand what happens here. Nick is solo streaming the Rittenhouse trial, and he sends out an invitation to a couple of other attorneys who were all like know each other, a circle of people, which we never really had a formal type of group together at all. Not a single chat, as far as I am aware of. There's not a single chat in Twitter or anything like that at the start of the Rittenhouse trial where, any more than 2 or 3 of us were engaged in together. And what happened was Nick was literally streaming the Rittenhouse trial by himself. And he said to a couple people, hey, if you want to come on, I've got 8,000, 10,000 people watching this. It's a case that everyone cares about. I was actually doing a different trial. I was covering the Arbery trial. And I was like, you know what? He's doing that trial. I'll do this trial. And I was working with Nate, the lawyer, on that. And what happened was, the reason I'm explaining what happened is because it's relevant to this conversation. He had a moment there during the Gage Grosskreutz testimony where he had on Andrew from Legal Mindset, and he had Legal Bites on there, Alita from Legal Bites, and the 3 of them are watching when Gage Grosskreutz is on cross, and their reaction to it, to the cross examination when Gage got blown up and didn't even realize that he was getting blown up, and Krause is like, oh my god,
yes.
when he admitted that Kyle didn't shoot until he first aimed a gun at Kyle. And they're all screaming, that's it, directed verdict, that's it.
That's the very first exposure I had to you guys. Was that viral? That clip went viral.
That clip went viral. So what happened then is Viva saw that moment, clipped it out, and Viva Fry clipped it out and then just shared it. And it went viral. I mean, he has generally, I think he had at that point, I think Viva had under 100,000 followers on Twitter, which by social media standards, I'm sure it's much bigger than most people in the audience, but he's not considered a ginormous Twitter following at all. But it ended up being seen by over 5 million people. because it was just like such an explosive type of reaction. And I'm watching this, and Nick is like DMing me. I'm still doing the Arbery trial. He's DMing me. He's like, dude, we're up to like 25,000 now. I don't think he even knew what happened, that all of a sudden he went from having 12,000, 15,000 to 25, 30, 35. And when I see he's at 35,000 people, I was like, yeah, I'm done with Arbery. I can't be investing my time here talking to like 300 people instead of 35,000. That's just like channel suicide here. And this is a case everyone wants. I'm gonna jump in there, and that's what I did. And what happened was, like, the next day or 2 days later, Nick basically created a chat for all of us, and he's like, here's a link. Whoever wants to come in whenever you want. And people just started, or many of us just started jumping in there. And he had there's 10 of us in there, 12 of us in there. And whenever people were able to get in there, that's when we went in there. The reason I told over this entire story here was to point out to you that all of this happens, all of this growth happens. And my channel went from having 4,000 people over the span of the next couple of weeks to 20,000 people. And then when I did Maxwell, it jumped up to over 40,000. But the reason that happened is because Nick's stream is shared by someone else. That's how you get known. Someone else is taking his stuff and sharing it. That's how your face gets out there. That's exactly. Not a bad thing. That is an amazing thing to happen to you. And that's why I say to you, any of you want to take me clipping this out and say, hey, or whatever, or me doing something, you know what? If someone were to, in theory, take this entire stream that I'm doing today, which this is breaking news. I've got PhotoChad on here, who today had his, had a fascinating incident, which, is something that, a story that's receiving national attention. Someone wants to take this and show it on their channel. I don't care. Because you know what? I'm not making money from someone coming watching this. I'm making money tomorrow that they're going to look for me now, and they're going to come back to me. So when Nick takes Law and Crime and he leaves their logo up there in the corner, you know what? Nick's not covering every case. There are plenty of cases Law and Crime is covering that Nick's not covering. So if they had any brains in their head, if Dan Abrams wasn't a complete moron, he would say to himself, you know what? At the end of the day, what they're doing is only bringing that much more attention to my to my channel. So I have that many more viewers. And yeah, maybe when they're doing their thing, since they're offering a different sort of product where they're talking over, and half the time some of the people in the audience are saying, hey, we want more silence, those people are going to turn away from Nick. And the people who want the commentary, they're going to stay with Nick. That's not hurting Law and Crime. That's helping their overall numbers. And they're so short-sighted to think that this is something that they should actually make a stink about, instead of actually saying to Nick Rekieta, God bless you.
And here's the funny thing is, I think that controversy got him a little more popular. I think he got a few more. I think he got more subscribers from that. Oh, wait, this guy's, in a battle. Maybe people who didn't know of him, now they do.
Of course. Because it's worse. And what you're pointing, it's not just that, but they just make themselves look like stupid. So they just make themselves look like it's an embarrassment for them that people just, now that you become a joke, instead of taking the increase to their overall numbers that comes from the exposure, that, hey, Nick Rekieta then goes from 25 to 30 to 50 to 80 to 130,000 people at the verdict, when that, instead of taking that and say, wow, you know what, that's that many people now who are watching Law and Crime who never heard of us. They never heard of us before Nick Rekieta started restreaming us. That many more people who are going to subscribe to us and check us out on this other trial that Nick's not covering, or that other trial. That many more people, instead of saying, wow, that's an amazing for us, they just decided, you know what, we're going to go and look like a whiny little Karen and sit here bitching, saying, how dare you violate our copyright when we don't even have a copyright here, because it's like, how stupid can you be? This is like Joshua Ziminski level stupid. Kimberly says, not just that, Joe, you guys take time to explain things to the chat. Yeah, and that's what I meant when I said it's a different product that we're offering, because some people want us to explain things to the chat. Some people want us to walk it through. Other people are like, you know what, that's boring, or they're over talking. They're talking too much, and it's distracting me from being able to watch the back and forth of the exchange. I just want to watch that myself. Some people will be looking. Look, a lot of people clearly are looking for what we're offering, but there's a certain demographic which is not going to be looking for that, and they'll rather go straight to Law and Crime. And God bless them, they should.
And there's two things that you guys offer is when you watch attorneys make commentary, you can be pretty confident that what they're saying is legitimate. And they're, watching non-attorney lay people talk about, oh, that shouldn't be admitted. I mean, they don't know what they're talking about. So
Right.
they get good advice, good, insight. And your group was just so diverse. You had the funny, New Yorker. I mean, you just had all different types of people, and it was just it was a perfect storm.
It really was. It was a perfect storm. And you're right. I am known as the funny one. And you're also right. It was actually a running joke during the trial where I was like, everyone backstage, they all call me the funny one. I said it only because it's never ever happened. So that's what made it, like, to me, funny to actually claim, because I was like, no one out there is going to know whether or not that's true. But
like the Ninja Turtles, you got the smart one, you got the rebel, you got the goofy one.
Right.
I mean, it was just a very good group of you, and it was just entertaining. It was entertaining.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this much: I actually saw a clip that Law Nerd Clips does. He takes like clips from different streams. He uses a lot of Nick. Sometimes he'll take me. Sometimes he'll take other stream channels, and he'll just sort of piece them together. And he was doing this whole thing about Binger that he put out, like, I think yesterday, and different clips of different moments from watching Nick stream. And one of them is just Nick. It's from early in the trial. It's just Nick. And I was like, wow, he looks so lonely. He looks so sad.
What is he going to do if he's going to use the bathroom? Just abandon his...
That's what he has to do. Yeah. That's what he has to do. And I was like, and you can see him like trying to like make it like interesting. I was like, man, it's so much easier when you have a whole bunch of other attorneys there who are just sort of like interacting with you. So, yeah. And by the way, this perspective that I'm sharing with you, it doesn't just apply to this. It really applies to the difference between the way the left looks at our economy and the way the right looks at our economy. The left looks at our economy that's saying, if people are rich, that means they necessarily, by definition, took money from poor people. As opposed to the way I look at the economy, and most people on the right look at the economy, is like, no, when they get rich, it's that they're making the entire pie much, much, much bigger. So instead of worrying that, hey, you're taking food off of my table, instead of looking at like how much the really super wealthy make compared to how much you make, ask yourself this: are you better off now than you were 5 years ago? And if you're better off now than you were 5 years ago, if you're living with a higher standard of life than you were 5 years ago, and then you see this billionaire who 5 years ago had 1 billion and today he has 100 billion, so his growth is far exceeding yours. Does it affect you that he now went from 1 billion to 100 billion? Or do you actually care about, hey, is your day-to-day life better? Right. Is that what's better? And if that should be your yardstick, because you know what? You didn't know 5 years ago that he had 1 billion or 100 billion. You didn't know anything about what his wealth is. You just see the numbers that someone, it looks like a pinball machine, the numbers that some of these people, these uber wealthy make. But that's not taking from you. They're making the overall pie much bigger. And when they make the overall pie much bigger, your slice becomes that much fatter. And your family is happier. And you have more personal comfort yourself. That is blessings from God. So instead of begrudging and getting yourself all envious and bitter, like, oh my God, I can't believe that guy got that thing, I should have more. Just look at your own self and say, you know what? Life is better for me. This is great. And then you're happy. That's such a healthier way to live. So apparently Kurt is here grifting, and God bless Kurt. I'm here to intimidate PhotoChad. Rawr.
Unintimidatable.
Yeah, I think that, you're a force of nature, Nathan, and God bless you for that. Anyway, if you guys have any final thoughts, I turn into a pumpkin at midnight my time, 11 p.m. your time, because 11 p.m. your time is Minnesota 11 time, and that's when Nick comes in here. So I sort of
invited Alita, and she's like, she was thinking about it, but she's like, that's 4:00 a.m. my time. I'm like, nah, don't forget about it. I was like, that's too late.
This is what happens. People go to Legal Bites first. They're like, you know what? Let me get Legal Bites. Let me offer a Legal Bites. And it's like when she says no, they're like, all right, let me ask Joe.
No, I guess. I'll show you the receipts.
I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. Legal Bites is amazing, and she and I work together all the time. And yeah, she does phenomenal work. But if I can bust someone's chops over it, I'm not gonna let an opportunity like that pass by. So yeah, if you guys have anything else that you want to pitch, I'm gonna ask you this, that you guys please, whatever you can, if you can help Nate out now, the Give Send Go is down in the description below. Anything that you guys can do to help support him, or check out his merchandise. I understand he's gonna be updating his website for soon.
Yes.
To reflect that his own personal photos that you can purchase were photos that are admitted exhibits in the Rittenhouse trial that were part of the case that helped defend Kyle and get him exonerated from those ridiculous charges brought by Binger and company. So, so if you want to purchase that little slice of Americana history,
and you can get a signed photo like this. Look at you.
Nice.
See who that chubby guy is on the left or right in the red Chuck Norris shirt?
Is that really you?
That's me in a Chuck Norris shirt and an AR-15.
Nice.
And that guy in the middle is like a monk, and then the dude on the other side was a Black Lives Matter dude.
That's a photo taken by Nate.
Yeah, we didn't even know each other.
We didn't even know each other.
That's so
that
wild.
But yeah,
that shows how much I was all over.
Your homework, Joe, is to Google Kevin Mathewson, and don't think poorly of me. But yeah, there's a crazy story.
There's a crazy story about Kevin. This is Kevin Mathewson, who's sitting next to me over here.
Yeah.
And from the Kenosha County Eye, formerly known as a right-wing blogger.
Gossip blogger, yeah.
Gossip blogger, right-wing.
So I will just ask your fans, I'd like some followers on Twitter. So if you want to look up Kenosha County Eye on Twitter, that way you guys can stay up to date on the Ziminski trial.
Yes.
So yeah, just Kenosha CTYI on Twitter. And March 28th, I'll be tweeting out updates for the trial, and maybe there'll be some more Jerry Springer action. Who knows? But I will be there. I will be taking photos. I'll have my laptop. I'll be tweeting. PhotoChad will be there, God willing.
I will be there.
And Mr. Ziminski will be there in orange jumpsuit and ankle chains. They take the ankle chains off before the jury comes in, but it's just that it hits hard. It hits good when you hear the chains. Like, that's a scumbag, right?
Yeah, let me just double check here, make sure I didn't miss any super chats. I think I got them all, but I just want to do a quick double check here. Dennis Pettit said, heard there were Jews in Cary, North Carolina. They're all doctors. Yeah, there's difference between Jews and Jews. Okay, just understand that. There's a lot of Jews. There's a lot of Jews out there. But if they're not practicing Orthodox Jews, it's a whole different animal. It's a whole different animal. They're basically it's not really very helpful. But,
are you going to go on? Are you going to be on the Rittenhouse interview with Ricada?
I didn't even know that he landed Rittenhouse. Did he really?
Said something like that.
When did he say that?
So David Hancock put on Twitter that they're setting it up.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
So you should get on
too.
I mean, look, if I have an opportunity to meet Kyle, you guys have both met Kyle, right?
I have not.
You have not.
I have not either. And there's civil lawsuits coming up. This is what I'll do. I'm going to send you a copy of the civil lawsuit, Joe, so you can read. I mean, it's fiction. It's 100% fiction.
Oh, I have no doubt.
There'll be depositions.
I've seen a video to know how weak that case must be.
Yeah, there'll be deposition. I'm sure PhotoChad will be deposed. I'm going to be deposed, but it's just I don't get how these attorneys can go into the federal court and write a complaint for civil rights, and it's just bullshit. Nothing is it's all fake news. I just don't get it. And even after the trial, Joe, they amended their complaint, and they still had bullshit in there that was proven wrong. They said in their amended complaint that Kyle transported a gun across state lines and possessed it illegally, even after being found not guilty of possessing it. I mean, it's these activist attorneys.
Technically, the yardstick to prove it is lower to prove it in civil court, so it theoretically could be found not guilty of that in criminal court while still being found guilty of that in civil court. But the unabashed absurdity of these charges, it shouldn't surprise anyone. It shouldn't surprise anyone. It sort of gives you a disgusting flavor. It's sort of almost like when you start like retching in your mouth and you swallow it and you still have that leftover taste hovering in your mouth. That's what these civil suits feel like to me. But if they're made public, I'm sure that they're probably that certain members of law too are probably going to jump all over it. So are you going to stream it yourself? Are you going to be in there? Kevin?
Me?
Yeah.
Civil trials?
Yeah. Are you going to be filming it? Because I don't know if we'll be able to get the film on that.
No, because it's a federal courthouse. But honestly,
oh, it's federal. Oh, it's in federal
so
court.
I'll just tell you the posture of these cases is after Gage said, yeah, I didn't shoot him. And, when you guys went crazy, that same day, the lawyers for the defendant, city and county, requested Gage's transcripts before he was even done testifying because they knew that those transcripts were basically going to hopefully lead to a dismissal.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think these will go to court.
That was the worst testimony in the world for his civil suit.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so, I mean,
I am up against the clock. So I thank you all for joining me. You guys can stick around here. The rest of you, let's go check on Nick. All right. And I thank you both. Nathan, thank you. Kevin, thank you. It was great seeing you guys again.
Thank you for the support.
And you guys take care of yourselves. Good night and Godspeed.
I'll keep you updated.
Good night, fellas.